Alright, YouTube. So for those of you that follow the channel, this is the front of my wrecked, now Streetfighter ugly ass Ninja 650R. It's 2007. So I want to do away with these headlights and do a Streetfighter mask. And I'm thinking I'm going to use this mask that I found in the thrift store. It happens to fit over this clothes iron that I was asked to take to the dump, repurposing, salvaging, right? And you can see those holes in there. They're pretty well lined up, the holes that are already in the ironing board. And so my plan is to take these lights that I purchased, enlarge those holes so that those will fit in there, and then I'm going to cut arches here with the plasma cutter, and so that I can bend those down and back and try to get that light to sit at the right spot. I just kind of measured down from where it's going to be, and then I looked at it's going to be about that height up, so hopefully once it's bent I can get it into the right spot, and so that it'll line up with the eyes in this mask here. And that's how I'm gonna make my Streetfighter mask. I was thinking about also mounting this one up on his head, kind of like a whatever it's called, headlamp, whatever. Or I might look into hooking up a different headlamp. I'm not sure. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but stay tuned. So I used the angle grinder and I cut off the top of this clothes iron here. This will just make it a little more manageable. So now I'm just going to kind of hold this up here and see if I remove these lights. I'm thinking that I can connect either these ones or these ones somewhere to this side, and I'll be able to mount this out at a little bit of an angle. Or my other thought was maybe to connect these down further a little bit and flip this bracket upside down to where I can run some other like some square LED pods or something down lower. But I'm not sure how that'll look, so I'm just going to kind of mock it up and figure it out. So in the process of doing this Streetfighter mask and getting it mounted up, I ended up wanting to redo the gauge mount. And I made this with a piece of barbecue grill and some washers, and it's held up great, but it was a little bit too close into where my key goes, and so it was rubbing. So I kind of trimmed down the edges, and you can see I bent this in a little bit more, and this one came out a little bit further. So my gauge setup, I'll go ahead and show it to you up here. It bolts down to the bottom of there, and you can see where it used to rub up in there on the bottom of the gauge, but now it's going to be out a little bit further. But that'll help me. Now that I know where that's going to be, I'm going to bolt it back up, and so that as I'm setting up this with the mask, I'm going to take those lights off. Obviously it's going to be in the right spot. Alright, YouTube, so we got the lights, the bracket, the gauges, the wiring, cut all the zip ties off of it so it's out of the way. And now I went to kind of mocking up. I removed the lights from this bracket here. I went to looking at, okay, where could I cut this across to where these downs would hit, there, or should I weld it here, and checking out where it would hit with the mask on here versus where those are gonna fall, and just kind of mocking it up and checking it out. And I know you guys obviously wouldn't have the exact same pieces and parts to work with, so it's not really productive to show you guys all of what I'm doing, but I'm just kind of explaining the steps and the thought process going into this build. Alright YouTube, so this is the progress so far. I shortened this piece down a little bit more, took that little bit off. Now these slide right up in. I did holes in the sides, both sides, so it's going to bolt together. I plasma cutted out those arches and made those holes a little bigger for the lights. So I'm going to be able to get the lights in there and get the mask on there and get those bolted together. Alright YouTube, so you can see those lights inside there. I got them lined up real well with the eyes, which is pretty good for just kind of guesstimating and using something that already had holes in the right spots and whatnot. But I'll pull this off here so you guys can see what it ended up looking like. It's pretty goofy looking by itself, but then once you combine it with that, it's gonna be pretty cool, man. Alright YouTube, so that's what we've got so far. You can see these brackets off to the side. I ended up going and getting a couple of these lights at Harbor Freight. I'll show you the box. I ended up grabbing a couple of those. I just figured for safety's sake and whatnot, make the bike a little brighter, a little more visible. So I'm going to throw those off to the side there on the mounts. And it'll be the skull face up here with the lights for eyes. Alright YouTube, so I got the gauges mounted up. I just wanted to show them to you guys while sitting on the bike. They're up there, you can see everything. It's kind of level with the bar, with that line. It just looks pretty good. The angle's right and everything. Before it was kind of down a little bit further, and it was a little harder to see, so now I've brought it up and it's looking pretty good. Now to get the other pieces up here that I've built all put together and wired up and all. Alright YouTube, so there it is. There's my, we're gonna call him the skeleton. I've got the pigtails wired up to some connectors. I put a couple of wire connectors on the backs of these wires to where they're going to plug in. There's my skeleton. I'm going to go ahead and get it mounted up there and wired up, and we'll check out the lights. And then the next or final step will be to put the mask that's up here on the shelf over this. And I'm thinking I'm probably going to maybe use some sheet metal screws through the forehead or do something to kind of hold it. So we'll see. Maybe hot glue, I don't know. Got the bike running, got those lights on, flip the high beams, and then it'll have glowing eyes. So I cut a little hole here, so once this goes over and hides all the wires and everything back here, I can pull this up through and plug in the gauges. And then I put a small hole through the plastic part underneath it here, and so that I can go to this hole and use a zip tie and get that to stay on there. I'm thinking I'm going to have to do the same thing to the sides, just to, you know, once I get it on there and kind of get it situated, I'll throw another zip tie to each cheek or something and get it to stay on there. Alright YouTube, so there it is. It's going to look pretty cool at night. Lights up like that. I can shut it off too, just run those lights. They're a little further out and down than I wanted. I wish they were maybe right up here under his chin. But for improvising and just using what I had around and whatnot, I think it looks pretty cool. And you know, I think it's neat. I think it's something different, unique, and I'm going to be proud to ride this bike. So, till next time, believe in yourselves. Know that you guys can do projects like this too. My hands aren't special. Your hands aren't special. All of our hands are special because we were made in God's image and we were made for a purpose. So get up, get out, build things, fix things, create things, grow things, bless people, help people, serve people, whatever it might be. Find your purpose. Find what you're made for. Till next time, keep building shit.